The purpose of this segment of project-based voucher training is to provide guidance to owners, developers, service providers, and property managers on the intake process for new applicants to the project-based voucher program at the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles. In this video, we'll cover what the PBV program is, who the PBV staff contacts are for new applicant referrals, what to do when you have a vacancy, and we'll walk through the application process step by step. So what is project-based assistance? Project-based rental assistance means that the rental subsidy is tied to the unit, not the tenant. Under the project-based voucher program, applicants are matched to available units already contracted through HACLA, and the tenant's rent portion will never exceed 30% of their adjusted monthly income. Under the tenant-based program, applicants use their voucher to search for available housing of their choice within the City of Los Angeles, and the tenant's rent can be 30% to 40% of their adjusted monthly income. After the first year, rent may exceed 40% if the unit's contract rent amount exceeds the current voucher payment standard. Both programs, tenant-based and project-based, require that the tenants follow the Section 8 program rules and family obligations for continued participation. Some benefits of the project-based voucher program are that 1, eligible participants will pay no more than 30% of their adjusted monthly income towards rent, regardless of the contract rent amount. 2, many PBV properties provide supportive services that are unavailable through tenant-based programs. And 3, after remaining in good standing for 1 full year, tenants may request to be placed on a waiting list to receive a tenant-based voucher through their Section 8 advisor. There are 4 program types under HACLA's project-based voucher program. We have the HACLA's General Project-Based Voucher Program, the Permanent Supportive Housing PSH PBV Program, the Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing PBV Program, or VASH, and our Rental Assistance Demonstration, or RAD PBV Program. Project-based vouchers are a component of HACLA's Housing Choice Voucher Program. PBV projects are typically selected for PBVs through a competitive process managed by the Housing Authority. The Permanent Supportive Housing PSH PBV program provides long-term rental subsidy contracts that facilitate development of housing for homeless and chronically homeless individuals and families, targeting a variety of special needs populations such as seniors, families, transition-aged youth, veterans, and the disabled. Program partners provide on-site supportive services. The HUD-VASH program is a partnership developed by the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the VA to provide permanent housing and supportive services to homeless and chronically homeless veterans. HACLA partners with the West LA Veterans Affairs Medical Center. The HUD-VASH goal is to combine Section 8 rental assistance vouchers with case management and clinical services provided by the VA at its medical centers to enable homeless and chronically homeless veterans and their families to reintegrate in the community, remain in stable housing, and lead healthy, productive lives. RAD allows active public housing tenants to convert to the PBV program without redetermination of eligibility. Converted tenants also pay the same rent portion under PBV as they did under the previous program. There are 3 PBV staff positions directly related to the processing of new applicants. First, we have the PBV Management Clerk that supports PBV eligibility interviewers and assistant housing managers with various internal tasks and procedures. Secondly, we have the PBV eligibility interviewers, or EIs, that receive and process new applicant referrals and applications for criminal background check and eligibility determination. EIs also coordinate unit inspections and handle the HACLA PBV Housing Assistance Payments Lease Agreements signed by the tenant and owner. Third, we have the assistant housing managers that conduct quality control of referrals, applications, and the HACLA lease agreements before processing the payments. Assistant housing managers also resolve partner and client complaints. If at any point you are unsure about your property's program type, or you're unsure which application and or forms to use, maybe you don't know who the assigned eligibility interviewer is for your property, or maybe you're just confused on next steps, please email us and let us know. You may refer to our PBV directory list and or our PBV desk guide for detailed contact information. Vacancies occur when a tenant gives the building manager a 30-day notice, a tenant vacates the unit without giving any notice, or when a tenant passes away. Following a vacancy or notification of an upcoming vacancy, it is property management's responsibility to immediately notify the tenant's PBV advisor of the move-out and to also immediately submit a new referral and application to the assigned PBV eligibility interviewer for the next applicant in line. To begin the process for a new applicant, the referral agency should submit the following to the building's assigned eligibility interviewer. Number 1, a completed referral and application. Number 2, valid photo identification for all adults. Number 3, birth certificates for any minors. Number 4, social security cards for all members. And number 5, supporting proof of income and assets. For a detailed list of required documents, please refer to our application checklist. Forms required by all adults are identified on the checklist. For a walkthrough of the PBV application, please watch our brief video on the application forms. Upon receipt of the completed referral, the eligibility interviewer will process the criminal background check and unit inspection concurrently. All adults must undergo criminal background check. If an applicant passes criminal background check, the family is approved to be considered for the PBV program. If an applicant family does not pass criminal background check, property management is notified of the denial. The applicant may request an informal review to obtain the details pertaining to the withdrawal and submit an appeal for reinstatement. No other actions are required. For more details on screening criteria, please reach out to us to request our terminations and denials matrix. While the criminal background check is being processed, the eligibility interviewer will coordinate the earliest available inspection date. Please reach out to us for our pre-inspection checklist and list of frequently cited deficiencies. The inspector will give the property manager contact a courtesy call the morning of inspection to provide an ETA. Unit inspection results are valid for 60 days. Next, the eligibility interviewer will notify property management and/or the service provider regarding any pending items. The certificate of eligibility is HACLA's notification to property management and the service provider that an applicant has met all eligibility requirements and can move in. The COE will identify the tenant's name, property name, date of eligibility, unit number, and rent portion. Following the COE, property management should provide the eligibility interviewer with a move-in authorization. A move-in authorization may be an email or document such as a form or lease agreement with the following details. We need to know the client's name, their address and unit number, move-in date, and the amount of their security deposit. The eligibility interviewer will use the move-in authorization to prepare the HACLA PBV lease agreement. The interviewer will email the lease agreement to property management for owner and tenant signature. Please ensure that only authorized signatories sign leases. If you don't know who your authorized signatories are, please reach out to us. Please also ensure that all signature sections are signed and dated, and also that pages are returned in the same order as they were provided to you. Upon receipt of the signed lease agreement, the housing assistance payment will be processed for the next check run. Once initial payments are processed, applicants become program participants. Any continuing participation matters are to be handled by the PBV Section 8 advisor teams. Some helpful tips to keep in mind throughout the process are: number 1, please do not submit incomplete applications for processing. Number 2, review paperwork for completion prior to submittal. Complete applications get processed more quickly. Number 3, check the quality of your scanned images. Number 4, interviewers receive hundreds of emails each day. Send attachments in as few emails as possible for better tracking and so that items don't get lost. Number 5, property managers, please include service providers on all correspondence. Number 6, service providers, please include property managers on all correspondence. The process is more efficient when all are in the loop. Number 7, always request confirmation that documentation has been received. Number 8, if you don't hear from us, please follow up. The purpose of this segment of project-based voucher training is to provide a walkthrough of the PBV referral and application. The PBV referral and application is available by target group. For this training, we will first walk through the referral and application for no target group. Then we will discuss the applicable variations of the application for the homeless, chronically homeless, disabled, VASH, and VASH streamlined target groups. If you're unsure about your client's target group, or if you need to request a blank copy of the appropriate application and accompanying application form checklist, please email your assigned PBV eligibility interviewer. You may refer to our PBV directory and/or PBV desk guide for staff's contact information. Before we begin, I want to point out that other than a question that allows the applicant to clarify any information reported, there aren't really any open-ended questions in the application. Questions are mostly yes or no questions or very specific questions about a person's housing history, family composition, income, assets, etc. Therefore, we will not be reviewing the application question by question, but rather page by page to gain an understanding of the necessity of each form. If you have questions or comments on any particular item within the application, please email us and we will be happy to provide clarification. To encourage those completing the applications to thoroughly read the application, sign all forms, and answer all questions where applicable, we do recommend referencing our application checklists while completing the applications. The first page of our referral and application is our applicant referral cover letter. At the top, please date with today's date and place attention to your assigned PBV eligibility interviewer. Please indicate whether or not the applicant is a part of the PBV program or the HUD-VASH PBV program. The PBV program here will include the Permanent Supportive Housing Program, the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, as well as our general PBV program. Please indicate if this is an initial lease-up for a brand new building where the unit has never been occupied, or if you are filling a vacancy where a previous tenant has moved out. Please identify whether or not the client is homeless or chronically homeless, or if they are not homeless at all. You'll want to list the client's name, your property's name, the building address, the unit number, and the correct bedroom size. Because we are not currently conducting interviews in person, you may leave the appointment information blank. If you are filling a vacancy, please provide the following information. Please list the previous tenant, their client number if known, the move-out date, and the reason that they vacated the unit. Please include your contact information at the bottom, as this is the information the interviewer will refer to throughout the process. The second page of the referral and application is the request for criminal history. Please leave the top section blank, as this is for internal PBV staff to complete. You'll want to ensure that each adult member of every household signs and dates their own form, and that they indicate their relationship to the household. The clearance review box in the middle is for internal staff to complete. Please leave this blank as well. The adult member should complete their personal information here on the form. The very last field is also for internal staff to complete and to conduct the criminal background check clearance. Please leave this field blank. Every adult member will need to complete the criminal background check applicant questionnaire. Each adult will need to complete the personal information at the top, answer the series of yes and no questions by circling the option, and then signing and dating the bottom. The fourth page is the beginning of our core application that collects details on family household composition, previous housing history, income, assets, etc. Please carefully read the instructions on each page of the application before completing any sections. Do not remove any pages from the packet. Answer the questions completely. For yes responses, provide all required information and documents. Please answer the questions accurately. The information provided will be verified. The information completed is certified under penalty of perjury. Please report all family income from all sources. Each member receiving income must provide the documents to verify that income. Please report all changes in family income and composition in writing immediately as they occur. Please be sure to look out for required signatures throughout the application. All adults 18 years of age and above must sign Part 15. Part 1 of the core application collects personal information as well as details on current housing status, subsidized housing history, homelessness status, disability, and primary language. It continues to collect information on sex offender status as well as household composition. Sections 3 and 4 request details on employment and self-employment. Each section will identify the supporting documents to provide for each applicable item. Part 5 will list other types of income as well as the required documentation needed for verification. Parts 6 and 7 will list information and details on full-time students and child support, and will list any required documentation needed for verification. Applicants should list any regular contributions and gifts in Part 8, any adult household members claiming zero income in Part 9, and any child care in Part 10. Any financial accounts or assets should be listed in Part 11. Medical expenses should be identified in Part 12. Any additional general information should be entered here in Part 13. All adult household members over the age of 18 should sign and date on this page. This authorization for release of information authorizes any agency, office, group, organization, business firm, financial institution, public or private school, or governmental entity to release to the Housing Authority any information or materials which the Housing Authority deems necessary to complete and verify an application for participation to the PBV program. All adult members should sign and date this page, and all minors should be listed. In signing this consent form, you are authorizing HUD and the above-named Housing Authority to request income information from the sources listed on the form. HUD and the Housing Authority need this information to verify your household's income in order to ensure that you are eligible for assisted housing benefits and that these benefits are set at the correct level. HUD and the Housing Authority may participate in computer matching programs with these sources in order to verify your eligibility and level of benefits. Every adult household member over the age of 18 will need to sign and date this form. Applicants have the right by law to include as part of their application for housing the name, address, telephone number, and other relevant information of a family member, friend, social, health advocacy, or other organization. This contact information is for the purpose of identifying a person or organization that may be able to help in resolving any issues that may arise during tenancy, or to assist in providing any special care or services that are required. An applicant may also check this box if they choose not to provide that contact information. Every head of household must sign and date this form. This notice provides applicants with information on what information HACLA is required to provide to HUD, who will have access to this information, how this information is used, and the applicant's rights. The Housing Authority is required to provide this notice to all applicants and program participants, and the applicants are required to acknowledge receipt of this notice by signing page 2 of this form. Here is the signature section on page 2. All adults in the household must sign this form. Next, we have the Declaration of Citizenship or eligible immigration status. All adults in the household must complete this form, print their name, sign and date at the bottom. The same form is available here in Spanish. Next, we have our consent form to verify immigration status with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS. All adult household members must complete this form. Any minors should be listed as well. The same form is available here in Spanish. The last page of the core application is the Housing Authority's authorization to release information. This form will allow the Housing Authority to release information to the folks listed on the form. The head of household will need to sign and date. This page of the application includes a list of the forms included in the supplemental application, and it also includes a list of the required supporting documents needed to verify proof of income and assets. If an applicant chooses to waive their use of HACLA provided oral interpretation, they may print their name on this form. HACLA is sensitive to the needs of individuals with limited English proficiency and is committed to ensure equal access to its services. If an applicant with limited English skills would like to communicate either orally or in writing in a language other than English, please indicate that language preference on the back side of this notice. The head of household should complete, print their name, sign, and date. HACLA strives to provide equal opportunity for all individuals to participate in and benefit from its programs in compliance with state and federal fair housing laws. An individual with a physical or mental disability may request a change, exception, or adjustment to a HACLA rule, policy, service, or modification to a dwelling, unit, or common space, also known as a reasonable accommodation, to obtain equal access to the HACLA programs. This form is to be completed and returned to HACLA as part of the application and our annual review process, but can be requested and submitted at any time as needed. Please be sure that the head of household signs and dates the bottom of the form. Housing built before 1978 may contain lead-based paint. Lead from paint, paint chips, and dust can pose health hazards if not managed properly. Lead exposure is especially harmful to young children and pregnant women. Before renting pre-1978 housing, landlords must disclose the presence of lead-based paint and or lead-based paint hazards in the dwelling. Tenants must also receive a federally approved pamphlet on lead poisoning prevention. Landlords should be sure to complete the disclosure below. Tenants should initial in section C and D. The landlord should initial in section E, and the landlord and tenant should sign and date at the bottom of the form. HACLA is authorized by HUD to collect the information required on this form by Section 8 of the U.S. Housing Act of 1937. Collection of family members' name and address is mandatory. The information is used to certify the members of the family participating in the Section 8 project-based voucher program and the family's awareness of their family responsibilities under the program. Page 2 includes additional information on the housing assistance payment and also the family's right to move. Page 3 continues with additional details on family obligations. On page 4, we have additional details on termination of assistance, illegal discrimination, and also HUD requirements. The top section of page 5 should be completed by the family's representative. The bottom section for the public housing agency should be completed by the property's assigned eligibility interviewer. Please ensure that all adult household members read this flyer on things that they should know. Every adult household member needs to sign and date the bottom of this form. This flyer informs applicants that HACLA uses HUD's Enterprise Income Verification System to verify Social Security numbers for all participants, Social Security and SSI income, earnings from jobs, and unemployment insurance for all Housing Authority public housing residents and Section 8 program participants. The same form is also available in Spanish. The certified statement is a series of yes or no questions regarding the family's income and assets. Any information reported throughout the application should be supported by this form. Each adult household member must complete this form. The yes/no certified statement is available here in Spanish. This form authorizes the Department of Social Services to share information with the Housing Authority. All adults must sign this form. The DPSS form is available here in Spanish. Here, we'll have the application variations by target group. For homelessness, we'll have the certification of homelessness and the statement of supportive services form. For chronically homelessness applicants, we'll have the certification of chronic homelessness, the statement of supportive services form, and the certification of disability. For our disabled applicants, we'll have the certification of disability and the statement of supportive services form. For VASH, we'll have the VASH RE73 criminal background check form, the VA referral letter, the HUD VASH PBV statement of family and veteran responsibility form, as well as the RE6A. Here is the 2-page certification of homelessness. Please note that there are other acceptable verifications of homelessness, such as other certification forms and detailed letters from qualifying agencies. If you're unsure, please submit your documentation to the eligibility interviewer for review. For chronic homelessness, please note that we require proof of disability, as well as a list of episodes of homelessness equaling 1 continuous year or 4 episodes of homelessness within the past 3 years, totaling 1 year. As proof of disability, applicants may provide the HACLA Special Programs Certification of Disability, or they may provide an award letter from the Social Security Administration with a disability code or proof of SSI. Applicants of the Permanent Supportive Housing Program and also the agencies providing the services should complete this form. Please note that for VASH, HACLA conducts sex offender screening only. We will not be conducting a full criminal background check. HACLA relies on the VA referral letter to determine whether or not a veteran is homeless or chronically homeless. Please have the VA representative and veteran sign the HUD VASH project-based voucher statement of veteran and family responsibility form. Please note that if any clients hold an active tenant-based badge voucher, that they may complete a VASH streamlined application. They will not need to complete a full application. The VASH streamlined application consists of a referral cover letter, the VA referral letter, a lead-based paint form, the HUD VASH PBV Statement of Veteran or Family Responsibility form, and also a certified statement to relinquish their active tenant-based VASH voucher, which is pictured below. On this page, you'll find a list of supporting income and asset documents for any application. On this page, you'll find a list of acceptable substitutions for a Social Security card as well as valid photo identification for adults.
Annual reexaminations. As the name suggests, an annual reexamination or recertification is conducted annually. What is a staggered reexamination or recertification? Well, this is an annual reexamination that is done to align the tenant's reexamination schedule with the annual reexamination or recertification schedule of the building. What is the schedule of the building, or how do we determine the schedule of the building? Good question. This is based on many factors. It can be based on the number of units listed in the HAP contract, how many bedroom sizes are listed under the HAP contract, how many floors the building has, or how many programs the building has. For example, the building can have contracts for both PBV and VASH clients. To get specifics on how we determine the building schedule, please reach out to your advisor and they will be happy to provide you with a breakdown of the annual reexamination schedule for your building. When an annual reexamination packet is received by the participant, who must complete it? All family members must be listed in the application, but all adults age 18 and over at the effective date of the annual reexamination must complete, sign, date, and provide all applicable documents or proof. What is the annual review process? There are up to 3 notices that are mailed out to clients during the annual reexamination process. The first letter is the Re-ex mail notice. This notice is mailed out along with the blank packet. This notice provides the client with 30 calendar days from the print date to submit the completed packet and all applicable documents or proof. If by that due date the packet is not submitted, or it is incomplete, or documents are missing, the advisor will send out the second and final notice, or what is known as a Lot 26. The advisor will list in detail what is pending, missing, or incomplete. This notice will give the tenant 14 calendar days from the print date to submit the missing or pending documents or forms. If by that due date the packet is still incomplete or pending, the advisor will mail out the notice of intent to terminate, or what is known as a HAP 81. Yes, we understand that this is a scary worded notice, but it must be sent out in order to follow the HACLA policies and processes. This notice will give the client a final 30 calendar days to provide or submit the missing, incomplete, or pending documents or forms to their advisor so that their annual reexamination can be processed. What forms are required? The packet must be completed, signed, and dated by all adults ages 18 and over in the household. If you are missing additional forms, please reach out to your advisor and they will be happy to mail or email you the additional forms needed. Please note that the annual reexamination packet contains a form labeled How to Properly Complete Your Annual Recertification Forms. That will be shown in the next 2 slides. Please read that form carefully as it provides you with important information on how to complete the packet and what to submit based on what income, assets, and deductions apply to you and your family. This is the 3rd form in the packet. Important things to keep in mind. All documents or proof submitted must be dated within 30 days of the submission date. Please ensure that you submit all pages of all documents. Do not redact or exclude any information or pages. This especially applies to bank statements that might have pages labeled "This page left blank intentionally." Proof of identification. Please ensure that all California IDs or driver licenses for all adults age 18 and plus must list the subsidized address. If it does not, they must provide proof of change of address from the DMV. Completed annual reexamination packets or documents that are pending can be submitted via mail, via the drop box located in front of 2600 Wilshire Boulevard, or in person at our lobby when open. Ensure that your packet and/or envelope lists your full name and your entity identification number, which can be found at the top right of any notice that's been sent to you. Biannual HQS or Housing Quality Standards, or better known as inspections. Inspections will be conducted biannually for at least 20% of the contracted units. This screen shows a copy of the form that is located in the annual review packet. This form is labeled "How to Properly Complete Your Annual Recertification Forms." As you could tell, it asks you to please read this carefully. Be sure to sign and date all the forms that are listed in the packet, not just the application itself. There are many supplemental forms that are needed to be completed and signed and dated by the head of household. On the second half of this slide, you'll be able to see the list of the items that you have to provide if it applies to you and or your family. This is a continuation of the last slide and the form itself, how to properly complete your annual certification forms. This lists additional income sources and what type of documentation must be submitted to the Housing Authority in order to complete your annual review packet. If you have any questions on any of these items, or there is a specific source of income that is not listed here, please reach out to your advisor via email, and they'll be happy to review your case and give you specifics on what documentation can be submitted during your annual review process in order for us to be able to complete it timely. Interim re-examination. An interim re-examination is conducted at the request of the participant or participant family member from the household to the advisor when the family reports a change in circumstances. It is the tenant's responsibility to report any change to their advisor within 30 calendar days. An interim re-examination is a re-examination that is conducted between annual re-exams. What type of changes will require an interim? Changes in family circumstances such as an increase or decrease of income, changes in assets such as opening or closures of bank accounts, life insurance policies or retirement accounts, or changes in the household composition such as an addition or removal request of family member or members. Having said that, the process to report such changes is the following: notification to the advisor via call, email, or via mail within 30 calendar days. Head of household must complete the notice of application for interim rent adjustment form, or what is known as the RE14. Participant must provide proof or verification of the change or changes reported. A certified statement, or what is known as the RE46, must be completed by each family member over the age of 18 stating their current income and assets. In the instances of change of income, if the interim is processed to lower the tenant's portion due to a decrease of the household income, As soon as the household income increases or changes again, the participant must report these increases to their advisor. They must provide proof, and we will process a special re-examination in order to raise the tenant's portion, as well as giving them a minimum of 30 days notice prior to that increase. In the instances of changes in household composition, adding or removal of a household member requires an entire annual review packet to be filled out. Newborns can be added without property management approval, but HACLA must receive a copy of the birth announcement or birth certificate and a copy of the Social Security card. To add adults to the household, we must get written approval from the property management to add said person. Once received, HACLA will send out the criminal background forms to that adult that need to be completed for clearance. For removal of adult household members, we must get a written request to be removed from that adult, proof of their new address, and the head of household must also request to remove said adult. If that adult has minors with them that are also going to be removed from the contract, they must state each minor's name in order for them to be removed. If a minor is requested to be removed alone, then court documentation is required. Note: new family members cannot move in until it is approved by HACLA. Interims will not be processed until all required documentation is submitted to the advisor. Interims can be denied if documentation is not submitted timely. Failure to report changes or provide documentation can result in a notice of intent to terminate, as well as failure to report an increase of income in the family can result in a retro charge to the client or the participant. Changes will be made effective the first of the month following when the proof was submitted, unless the change results in an increase in the tenant rent portion, which requires a minimum of a 30-day notice to the client. Our project-based program does have a minimum rent amount of $50 minus utility. Rent increases. Ownership or the property management team must submit the rent increase request 60 to 90 days prior to the anniversary month of the PBV HAP contract. For example, if the HAP contract was finalized with an effective date of July 13, 2010, that means that the anniversary month is July of each year. The proposed date of that rent increase must be July 1st of each year, so the request must be submitted between April 1st and May 1st of each year. Late submissions will result in a denial of your request. Submissions can be submitted via the owner's portal, via fax, or via mail. There is a request for rent increase form, or what is known as the HAP 185, that can be requested from the advisor if needed. Preferred submission method is through the owner's portal, as you will receive confirmation and the submission will be archived in the system. We do ask that the ownership or the property management team only submit one request per bedroom size or per program. For example, if your property has both PBV and BASH units in the building that each have its own HAP contract, please submit one request per bedroom size for each program.
This section will cover the process of converting a project-based voucher to a tenant-based housing choice voucher. After the initial year on the PBV program, tenants may request a voucher to move. Voucher issuance, however, is subject to eligibility. In order to be eligible, a tenant must have fulfilled the initial one-year residency requirement and should be in compliance with both PBV program requirements and their current lease with property management. The process begins with the tenant submitting a written request for a voucher to the advisor. The request is then forwarded to the PBV recontracting unit, who is responsible for verifying good standing. Once verified, the client is placed on a waiting list to receive the eligibility application. When the application is complete and all verifications are gathered, The client should return all documents to assigned staff for voucher processing. The average turnaround for this process is 60 to 120 days and can vary depending on volume of requests. The next sections will provide an overview of the types of vacates and submission of vacancy loss claims. When a tenant vacates a unit, HACLA pays HAP through the end of the vacate month. Some examples of vacate types are voluntary withdrawals, evictions, mutual and stipulation agreements to avoid eviction, unit abandonment, non-compliance with program regulations, deaths, and conversions to tenant-based vouchers. In order for HACLA to process the vacate, the owner should complete and forward a move-out notice along with supporting documentation to the advisor within 10 business days. Examples of supporting documentation include a copy of the tenant's 30-day notice, the abandonment notice, unlawful detainers, writs of execution, and a copy of the sheriff's lockout notice or mutual agreements. Timely notification of action allows the housing authority to issue our appropriate notices and process vacates in a timely manner. Vacancy loss payments are designed to reimburse owners for rent loss due to unexpected vacancies. In addition to the HAP paid through the end of the vacate month, HACLA may also pay 80% of the contract rent minus any security deposit funds collected from the tenant. To be eligible for this amount, the vacancy must be unexpected, such as a death or abandoned unit. The owner must promptly notify the advisor of the vacancy within 48 hours and provide copies of supporting documentation, and the owner must certify that all reasonable action has been taken to fill the vacancy. For a claim to be valid, an owner must first attempt to collect the funds from the tenant. California law requires that a landlord must, within 3 weeks of vacate, either refund the tenant's security deposit or provide the tenant with an itemized list of charges for which the funds were used. Please note that claims will not be accepted by the housing authority unless a copy of this statement is attached. If the owner is unable to collect the funds from the tenant, the owner may submit a vacancy loss claim form to the advisor for review. The advisor will calculate the total loss and forward the calculations to the assistant manager for approval. If approved, the funds will be direct deposited into the owner's account on file. The housing authority is committed to making reasonable accommodations for individuals with disabilities. An individual with a physical or mental disability may request a change, exception, or adjustment to a HACLA rule or policy as a reasonable accommodation in order to obtain equal access to HACLA's programs. Tenants may request accommodations either verbally or in writing. Upon receipt of the request, the advisor will follow up with the necessary forms to certify and verify the nexus or the connection between the disability and the accommodation requested. Once the completed forms are received, they will be forwarded to the department manager for consideration. The PBV program at HACLA offers unit transfers within buildings and between buildings within the same owner's portfolio. These transfers are designed to fulfill reasonable accommodation requests, VAWA requests, or resolve compliance issues with ADA units. If a tenant is in need of a unit transfer, please reach out to the advisor to obtain the necessary documents. All requests for unit transfers are subject to approval by the department manager. Occupancy standards are the rules set up by the Department of Housing and Urban Development regarding the number of people that may occupy a unit at any given time. These federal standards are based on the number of bedrooms at a property. HACLA determines occupancy compliance at each annual re-examination. If clients are determined to be overhoused or underhoused at an annual re-examination, they have 90 days from the effective date of that re-examination to either transfer to a unit of appropriate size or request a tenant-based voucher to move. Failure to comply may result in termination from the program. To clarify, overhoused families are those who live in units that are too large for their family composition. For example, one person in a 2-bedroom unit would be considered overhoused. Underhoused families are those who live in units too small for their family composition, like a 5-person household in a 1-bedroom unit. Please note that the option for a voucher to move is contingent upon the eligibility requirements set forth in the Family Right to Move section.
During this section, we will be giving an overview on contract monitoring. Although it might seem like a small section, contract monitoring plays a vital role in the PBV program. HACLA monitors the performance of owners in those programs for which it has received authorization or jurisdiction from HUD to act as a contract administrator. To ensure compliance and eligibility with program regulations, HACLA will perform an annual monitoring on all PBV contracts. HACLA representatives will contact property management to schedule a monitoring date and provide them with a list of files needed for the review. Approximately 20% of PBV files will be reviewed. Once you receive your monitoring notice, please confirm the date and time. The monitoring consists of entry and exit interviews with property management, case managers, and service coordinators. In order for all the notices to be received in a timely manner, we ask that you keep us updated on any staff changes. Here you will see a list of some of the documents that will be reviewed the day of the monitoring. Please note that additional documents can be requested as needed. Also note that properties with supportive services have additional documents that will be reviewed. To look at the list of required documents, please reference our project-based voucher program desk guide. This concludes our presentation. As mentioned before, please reference our project-based voucher program desk guide for more information. If you have specific questions, the desk guide also provides contact information for HACLA staff. Thank you.